Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SecurityGuideTV.com, episode 1679, with my next guest, Mr. Dennis Hurst, the founder and president of Saltworks.io. Mr. Dennis, welcome to Black Hat USA 2020.
Great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Now, for people that don't know, let's give us a brief overview of what Saltworks does.
Sure. We're an application security consulting company. We partner with companies to build world-class application security programs, which really just means helping them integrate security into everything they do around how they build and deploy applications.
Now, you have a great concept we're going to talk about today, the observe-ability concept, which, see if I can say it right, observability concept. What a great description. I like the way it sounds. So what is observability? How is it different in application security than other areas of security like SIEM?
Yeah, good question. So the general concept of observability, it has slightly different meanings depending on who you talk to, but it's this whole idea of the ability to observe or measure or monitor the infrastructure that you're managing. So if you have 100 or 1,000 applications, the ability to understand their state. And in a traditional SIEM world, that means, are they under attack? How are you defending them? It's more of a network layer kind of issue. When you get into application security, observability really means more around, do you understand what applications are being built in your company? Where are they at in their development lifecycle? And when do you expect them to go live? And it really comes into play heavily. Security people, we've all had this experience of somebody builds an application and they come to us 2 days before they want to go live. And you do a pen test and it fails. So you're in that unpleasant position of either you go live with a bad application and hopefully you fix it, or you block it, which hurts the business. Observability and application security is the idea that we want to know what's being built, where it's at in the life cycle, and what security measures have been integrated or what testing practices have been used to make sure that that application is as secure or is reasonably secure as it goes through the development lifecycle, and avoid that position of having to make a go, no-go decision 2 days before a go live and hurt the business. It's really about partnering with the business. And the observability is the ability to see those applications and understand who's building what, where are they at, what's the relative risk of them, and are you doing the things you need to do so that they can go live and serve the business like they were designed to.
So we have SaaS, Security as a Service. I came up with one myself, and I run this by all the people smarter than me to see what you think about it. I call it SAV, Security as a Vulnerability. We have so much security, to your point, so many things running, we can't keep track of it. If we don't do that, we're more vulnerable than ever.
We are. It's interesting. I completely agree, because I was one of the founding members of the Cloud Security Alliance years ago. It was really interesting to me back when the Cloud Security Alliance first got together. If you talk to everybody that was on it, their biggest concern wasn't the security of cloud providers. There was concern there, but the big concern really was around, we have applications that are being built, deployed, and run, and we have no idea where they are. Even vendors, it was ironic, even vendors that were SaaS providers were complaining about the exact same thing. So that lack of observability, the lack of knowing what runs and has it been secured properly, is really, in my opinion, the big risk of cloud. It's not that the cloud providers are bad or their infrastructures aren't supportable. I mean, they really are. They do a nice job. It's just that people deploy badly written applications and don't configure it properly, and that's vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I have my first computer in 1983, right? And so I know that the very first line of code for the very first World Wide Web application in HTML, you know what? It did not contain security. That wasn't the first line of code. Oh. It was built as an open platform. Basically, now we're putting patches on top of it. So really, this is our greatest vulnerability. Now, if observability is important in application security, how does having a good application inventory affect it?
Really, it's pretty simple. If you don't know what you have, it's hard to observe it. Which is super easy to say and really complicated to do. It's understanding a good application inventory tells you what's being built, what its risk level is. It informs you that you need to monitor its process through that development lifecycle. It lets you know that it exists. And then once it's in production, it lets you know what's running where. I am perpetually amazed, and I've been doing this in one aspect or the other of application security for about 20 years now. And consistently, companies don't know what applications they have. They don't know what runs on machines in their data centers or in the cloud. They'll know there's a box, with blinking lights and it's doing something. And they may even have SIM wrapped around it for monitoring network traffic, but there's a lack of contextual information of what application is running on it, what vulnerabilities does it have, what does it talk to, and what does it have access to. Those kind of just, fundamental blocking and tackling sort of core knowledge things you need really is lacking. So that application inventory, just understanding what exists, where is it running, and what does it do, what does it talk to, which you would think would be really important and is, most people just don't do it well.
Well, you made an interesting point when you said this is so important but very difficult to do. And I always wondered about, security apps and the guy that codes the security. I get the time to market argument, right? I got to get this done. I got to get it done.
Right.
I got to make some money. Okay. But, does it really take that much longer to work with a security guy to put the security code in? I don't think so, but what do I know? So to demonstrate that, give me some examples of where the lack of observability and application inventory has caused, some CSOs some security headaches. Don't name any names, but I'm sure you have proof of concept.
Yeah, and I can give you one highly public name if it's okay, because everybody knows it and everybody knows what happened. It was Congress talked about it at great length. If you look at the Equifax breach, sort of the poster child for breaches, that was a case of Struts, a version of Struts, which is a library or framework that runs on top of Apache web servers the developers used. They had a vulnerable version. It was known to be vulnerable, and they used it in a way that got them exploited, and they got hacked. So well-documented breach. That's a perfect case, though, of an application ran. It had access to critical data. There was a lack of observability or knowledge that the application existed, had that level of access, and was using a known vulnerable framework. And it burned them to a profound level. And you could go, I could go breach after breach after breach where, and we see this one all the time. This is probably the more common case where a system is running that is considered low risk. However, it's running on a system that has other things that are high risk. There's been a lot of those where something that was an application that nobody really paid attention to, someone breached it and then used that as a jump off point to get to other systems. So that lack of understanding of, again, what was running where, what did it connect to, and what was its inherent risk because where it was. It's burned people over and over again. The Heartland payment, again, well documented. This is public. Everybody knows about it. Years ago, Heartland payment systems got hit. They had just passed a PCI audit, and then immediately after that got breached through a marketing website. But the marketing website had access to something, and that had access to something, and they got breached. Again, common mistake, super common mistake, where was a bad code that wasn't tested because it was low risk, connected to something that was high risk, but that lack of observability and an application inventory just didn't raise any red flags that, hey, there's a risk here.
Dennis Hurst, he's the founder and president of Saltworks.io. Dennis, you have common sense to the triple power. This is fantastic. I'm very surprised more people aren't doing this because it's sorely needed. And I think it's going to cut down a lot of our problems. We've got about 30 seconds left. I've done 1,600 shows. I feel that your offering is a little unique. Probably not a lot of people doing what you're doing. Is that right?
It is. We've been told we're in a niche for 20 years, and it's just it's just applications, but it's a big niche. There's a lot of apps in the world.
That's a good place to be for 20 years. Dennis Hurst, founder, president, Saltworks.io. Thanks for coming on Security Guide TV, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.